Hey guys, happy Homebrew Wednesday. How you doing? How's it going out there? How's your week going? Got some beer here. It's a very cloudy beer. That's working out nicely. This is it. This is it. This is the beer that I brewed in the last video that I just put out, the Cooper's IPA with added hops. This is the beer. Obviously, I recorded that video a few weeks ago, or a week and a half ago anyway, and posted it recently so we could get this closer together for you. And this is it. That's very cloudy. I just kegged it tonight, so it has to settle out for 4 or 5 days, and clear up and age a little bit in the keezer. Okay, well, that's where it is. But this is the a little bit of a test here to see how it turned out. It's actually quite nice. Very nice brew. It's got nice little head retention there, a little bit of lacing. The hops are just in your face, man. You got a nice IPA here. Very good. I'm going to be doing more of a detailed review on this when it's, closer to being drinkable. Right now it still needs some time. So I'll do that, and I'll give you a more detailed critique on what I think it tastes like. Oh, what do I got here? I got questions and I got things. Okay, so the first thing I want to cover here is I got lots to cover, so you better sit back and get yourself something beer, because this is going to be a while, I think. I'll try to make it as short as possible. I want to thank Eric. Eric sent me some stuff. He's the chemist who called in a few weeks ago on my live broadcast and talked about Star San and how, in his opinion, and as a chemist, and he knows all that stuff, the chemistry stuff, that there's no reason why a cloudy product like that, Star San, cloudy Star San, shouldn't work as well as clear Star San, which is what we've got there. Okay, so first of all let's look. He sent me some stuff. Got some hops here. He sent me some Magnum hops and some Fuggles. Beautiful. Thank you, Eric. Awesome stuff. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the Magnum yet. I'm going to look it up and see what the best thing would be to do with that. Okay, we've got some Y yeast smack pack here. He sent me this. I'm probably going to do an all grain with this. I don't buy this stuff usually because it's really expensive here, and so it's nice of him to splurge and send me this, give me an opportunity to brew a nice special beer with a good yeast, top-notch stuff. I'm just going to throw this back in the fridge so that we don't get it warmed up, preserve it the best we can. And the final thing he sent me was these test strips. Now, I already have test strips that I got from Immoladius, and I was able to sort of do this test already, but it's nice to have a second opinion. And these are super accurate, and these have increments of 0 pH, 1 pH, 2 pH, 3 pH, 4 pH. So they're really, really, you can really get down to the nitty gritty of testing something. So what I did was, before I shot this video, I did a test. I already did this before, but I did it again for you guys. And what we've got here is, you saw the two Star Sans, the cloudy one. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I've already talked about this a few weeks in a row, but Star San is important because it's what we use to sanitize our stuff to make beer, right? So it's very important. Sanitation is it's key, right? The one with the bent bottom is the cloudy Star San, and the one with the straight one is the non-cloudy Star San. And if you look at the top square there, you'll see that they're both the same color. And when I look at the legend thing on this box here, I'm telling you right now that you're looking at a pH of 2.0. Okay, so they're both the same. Cloudy one is just as effective as the non-cloudy one. People have done this on YouTube. They've proven this. It's I just had to do it for myself, and there's the results. There you have it. We'll put this up. Let's see if the camera will grab that, focus on it. Maybe it won't, but you can. There you can see it. So there you have it. Okay. So use your cloudy Star San, but if you can get some strips to test it, because your water might be different than mine, right? That would be the best way to do it. You can save a lot of money on Star San if you don't throw it down the drain every time you use it because it goes cloudy. Okay, let's get to some questions. Right, let's go for the Kilkenny topic. Now here's the Kilkenny here. Let's get this. I'm trying to do this video as quick as I can. God's sakes, so much stuff to talk about. And there it is right there. That fermenter has to be cleaned. I just kegged. That's the beer you just saw. And there's the Kilkenny there. We're sitting at about 70 degrees Fahrenheit here on the thermometer. I do have a heat belt on. This corner of the basement is very cold in the winter because there's a draft that comes through in behind that fuse box there where the wires come in. And so if I didn't have the heat belt, it would probably be sitting at about 62. And I'm a little bit worried about that. I'd rather ferment a little bit up towards 70. It's a USO5 yeast there. I think 75 Fahrenheit is its upper limit, so I'm within the the range of what that yeast likes. Okay, so there it is. Now I started shooting video of that, but I ran out of the battery, went dead on my camera, and I said the hell with it. I just want to brew this beer. But I will be tasting it on here. I'll give you a taste test with it, and I'll give you the recipe. But you'll get the test. Taste tests and the recipe and all that, and we'll see how it works. Now, I don't have nitrogen. Apparently, a Kilkenny beer is served carbonated with nitrogen rather than CO2. And, I don't have nitrogen, so I can't do that. So I'm just going to do the CO2 thing. We do it with what we can with what we've got, and we'll see how it turns out. So somebody asked me if kegged beer requires as much aging as bottled beer. Okay, now the truth of the matter is that all beer needs aging. All homebrew gets better with age. There's no doubt about that. Okay, the advantage of kegging is that although the beer is really young, you can still drink it early because you've forced carbonated it in like 48 hours or 24 hours or even 10 minutes if you shake the keg. You can drink it very early. And if you don't care about young beer, this is a young beer. This is very young. It's not clear. It's got a lot of sort of green flavors is what they describe it as, And I'm just trying it for this video so that, you guys can see what we brewed. But the truth of the matter is, a couple of weeks in the refrigerator, in the keg, would do this beer a world of good. Even longer. Okay? But the thing is that when you bottle your beer, you have to wait for the carbonation. Sometimes it takes a week or two, sometimes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on the temperature that your bottles are sitting in, it takes time. So if you want to cheat, you keg. Because you can drink it right away. It's carbonated. Boom. Whatever it is, it is what it is. It's young beer, and if you don't mind that, then there it is. With bottling, you can't. It's flat. You have to wait until it carbonates. So I hope that answers that question. Somebody asked me what I think about Mr. Beer. Well, I've never done one. I've never actually had my hands on a Mr. Beer kit before. I've never done it. So I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. From experience, I could not tell you. Now, I do know that Mr. Beer and Cooper's have merged. I think Cooper's bought Mr. Beer, and so they're now one and the same. I use Cooper's products, so I would assume that Cooper's was not going to buy a company that wouldn't, allow you to make decent beer, because it could hurt their reputation. So that's the only thing I have to go on, is that a larger, a very renowned beer kit company or beer company bought Mr. Beer, and they're merging. So that's all I can tell you. Somebody's sending me, actually, I think I mentioned this on my live broadcast a week or so, two ago, and somebody offered to send me a Mr. Beer kit. I'm not going to go out and buy one. I don't need to. I brew it just fine with what I've got. But they were said they were going to send me one. So when that arrives, I'll do it. We'll do the Mr. Beer kit. We'll see what it tastes like. You know, that's all I can tell you. We'll see what what happens with that. Let's say this guy was wanting to know about head retention, and when he gets his beer cold, he's got terrible head on his beer, but when it's warm, he gets decent head. Well, that's completely normal, and it's all in how you brew the beer. Beer in general is meant to be, you know, consumed chilled, although there are some exceptions to that, but for the most part. And so if you're not getting good head retention or head on your beer, you probably might want to look into adding something to it to you know, improve that. If you can get your hands on, let's say, like wheat has a lot of protein. Well, protein is what you're looking for. So more malt extract, less dextrose if you're using dextrose in your beer. If you want, you can buy dry malt extract and add more of that. And even a wheat product, like a wheat dry malt extract. That's really going to help your head retention. And also hops. Fresh hops, pellet hops, whatever it is, do the hop tea thing. Add fresh or pellet hops to your beer kits or whatever you're doing. And it does help. I mean, this beer doesn't have, you know, fantastic head retention, but there's a cap on it. It's got a nice mouthfeel. And it's not completely, it doesn't look like apple juice, okay? That's the hops that does that. And John Palmer will tell you that. He's been, I've heard him talk about that. So, and I'm actually going to get John on here. I'm going to see if he will interview me or let me interview him. And I'm sure he will. I don't see why he wouldn't. And I'll get him on here, and we'll ask him some of these questions. I'll pool up some of these questions that you guys have asked me, and you know, give him those. Let him answer these things because he's the man. You know, he's the guy you want to ask. And so we can get him on here. That's what we can do. And I think he knows me, like knows about me, like CraigTube. Because I know somebody who knows him, so you know I'm pretty sure he'll let me speak to him, and we could do a YouTube video on that. So that'd be really cool. Okay, so that's all I've got here for that, and that's really all I've got for you guys this week. I got really good responses from you. On the brewing of the Cooper's IPA with the hops added. You know, I was actually a little bit scared to do that video because I thought, you know, I've been brewing for so long and I've been on YouTube for all this time, and I'm going to do another video on a beer kit. I was afraid to post it, but you know, we got some great responses. And you know what? I thought about it. Don't be embarrassed to brew the beer the way you know, brew it the way it works for you. You know, here we go with, you know, my final statement here. This is coming from just off the top of my head. There's absolutely no reason, if you can justify brewing a beer kit because that's what works for you, why should there be anybody out there to tell you that that's wrong or that's just not cool? That's what I call bullshit. Nobody can tell you what's best for you, and everyone's got a different reason for brewing beer. And you know, so somebody who wants to brew beer because it's a hobby and they just want to go into competitions and make the best beer in the world and all this stuff, then they're going to have the highest standards. They're going to use, you know, they're going to have all this expensive equipment. They're going to do that, you know, and that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It works for them, and that's why they do it. They're happy, they're enjoying themselves, they're enjoying their beer, and they're pursuing, you know, their hobby on the level that they want to pursue it. Other people brew beer to save money. They just don't care whether it's the best beer in the world, as long as it's drinkable, as long as it works for them, and they don't have to go out and spend, huge amounts of money on store-bought beer. So, there's this big range, and I'm telling you, I keep my head on this thing up here. I'm not embarrassed that I've been brewing for as long as I have, and I still use simple methods. I do all grain beer, I do partial extracts, I do mini mashes, and I do kits. Don't ever let anyone tell you that your method is stupid. I've been in the forums, I read this stuff. I don't post in the forums, but I read them sometimes, and I see what people say. And you know what? Just because they brew beer doesn't mean they know everything about why people brew, how people brew, the motivation behind it, the methods people use. People are in their kitchens and their garages and their backyards. They're doing this stuff. And they're doing it because it works for them. If it doesn't work for them, they'll try something else. Everyone finds their own path. Don't go into a forum and read all these posts and say that these cans of malt extract, the pre-hopped ones, they suck, they're no good. Eventually you'll stop brewing those and whatever. Maybe you will stop brewing them at some point. Or maybe you won't. It's all up to you. Nobody can impose upon you how to brew beer. That's what I've learned. Okay? And let's face it, I'm a bit of a spokesperson on YouTube about brewing, and I try to be I'm very careful to be accurate with my statements and my information, but I'm not perfect. Okay? I am not perfect. And I rely on you guys to post stuff down there to correct me and add to the information. But the bottom line is, I don't apologize for brewing a beer kit. There's no reason to apologize for that, because it's what works for me. I'm a busy guy, and if I need to do that in half an hour, that's what works. And as I said in my last brewing video, what works for you works for me. And that's all there is. Nobody has to be embarrassed. Nobody has to be like, oh, well, I don't have a big enough pot, Don't be embarrassed about that. You do what you can with what you've got. That's all. Why should you be intimidated by some big guy with big, $2,000, set up in his garage and his tubes and pumps? And that's great that he does that, and I'm sure he enjoys himself out there whistling away, making his beer. And that is awesome. It works for him. It doesn't work for some other people who brew smaller, more simple methods. Some people, they drink coffee and they don't go to the store and buy, Maxwell House or whatever, those brands. They go to these, these amazing coffee kiosk, things in the mall or whatever, and they buy this imported, unbelievably weird, amazing coffee beans. They grind them themselves, and they, that's the way they make their coffee. They got these machines in their kitchen that grinding things up. And if that's what they want out of coffee, then that's what they need to do. Is go through all that trouble and expense to make their coffee, so that when they sip it, they're like, that's perfect. That's what I wanted. Some people just go and buy the generic stuff and they drink the coffee and it's fine. It does the job for them. And so that's the range of people who drink coffee. It's the same with beer brewing. It's the same with car stereos. It's the same with everything. Really. It's what you're expecting from it. That's what you got to put into it. I think that's the bottom line. And with that, I got to go. This video is way too long. I never actually ever meant for this Homebrew Wednesday thing to be longer than 10 minutes, but it gets to the point where I just rant. It's a blog. It is what it is, and if you, I'm sorry. I'll shut up now. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on Friday on my live broadcast on justin.tv/CraigTube. And happy brewing. Good luck with your beer, with your wine, whatever it is you're making. And have fun. That's the main thing. Just have fun. Don't let people tell you you can't do this, you can't do that. I will never tell you you can't do something. That's not in my vocabulary. Cheers, be safe, and we'll see you real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.